Hey everybody, this is Darwin Rain. I'm the Festival Director Hospitalario of the International Film Festival. And today we have a great guy from the US, Ilya. He made this great film, How to Get 100 Million Bucks. That title is a killer, man. You did good with that title, actually. I like it. How are you, Ilya?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being with us. We're very honored to have you. Buddy, let's start with the idea. How do you get the idea of writing this script?
So, great question. So the idea came when I was going through a period where I was kind of reading a lot of self-help books, and I was reading this one book that basically gave the advice that you should, if you have a dream, if you have something that you want, what you need to do is write it down, and you need to be very specific, and then you basically need to just really believe in this idea, and eventually you're going to get what you wish for. Like, that was the basic gist of what it was. And so I remember thinking to myself, oh, that sounds easy enough. So I took out my notebook and I was like, okay, I wrote down, I will have $1 million. And you have to say the date. I will have $1 million by the time I'm 35 years old. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, that's kind of lame. If I could have anything in the world, I may as well go for the gold, right? So I scratched it out and I said, I will have $5 million. And I looked at that and I thought to myself, come on, you're wishing here. You can do anything you want. So I scratched it out and I said, I will have $100 million. And then, and I thought, oh, that sounds pretty good. And then I went to the other room and I told my wife, hey babe, I'm actually gonna have $100 million by the time I'm 35. And she told me I'm an idiot. And so then I took my dog out on a walk, and I was kind of mad that she didn't believe in me. And then I actually had this idea for a film. I was like, what if there was a character who really actually believed that, and what would happen? And so that's how the idea was born.
Wow, man, that sounds pretty cool. How long was the writing process for you of the script? You remember how many days and how many drafts?
It happened super fast. So I came home from the walk and I told my wife, hey, I'm going to write this film. And she said, okay, sure, whatever. And that evening I had the script written. So, I wrote it in a couple of hours, and then, which is really unusual for me, because usually writing for me takes a long time. I hate writing. Wow. Actually. It's something I don't enjoy doing. But this one just really came to me really quickly. And then I don't remember, there was a few drafts, but the first draft was pretty close to the shooting draft. Didn't change too much.
Your film I watch is really good. I'm very impressed with the cinematography, all this shiny stuff you have there, the colors. It's really good. Well done.
Thank you.
How was the pre-production? It was a long process before you go into production. Tell us a little bit your process for pre-production.
Pre-production actually happened pretty fast. So I wrote the film 1 year ago. It was in November, and we shot in January. But, everything kind of dies during December, the month of December, because it's like Christmas and New Year's and stuff. So, in Hollywood, like, nothing's going on during that time. So the only thing I really did was I got the actress, the lead actress. I got her right away. I got her interested. It's a friend I'd worked with, and she's fairly successful and very popular. She's on a Netflix show, and she has like 2 million Instagram followers. So aside from her being a terrific actress, I knew that she'd bring some nice clout to the film. So I got her involved, but then other than that, I really pre-production waited until January. And we shot January, I think the third week in January. So there's really about 2 weeks during which everything came together. During which we found, maybe I had one location in December as well, but other than that, everything kind of came together during those 2 weeks before we filmed. So It was pretty fast.
Yeah, let's go to a production. Who did the cinematography for your film? Was you? You are a DP,
No,
right?
No, I'm not a DP. You don't want me touching a camera. But I have a good friend, Chris Collins. I've been working with him since college. So
good, man.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Wow. So, what was the challenging thing during the production that you think that you remember? Something challenging during production?
Oh man, it's the car. The car is the thing that I have to talk about every time. So there's a car in the film, which basically the main character is an Uber driver, and we knew that this car we had to end up crashing it, right? We knew that there was going to be a scene where a man has to hit the windshield, which means that we couldn't use one of our cars. It means we couldn't use a rental car. So I decided I'm going to buy a used car. After all, she's an Uber driver. She's driving a crappy old car anyway. It doesn't really matter. So I said, okay, I'm going to buy something. It's probably going to be like $500 to be able to get a used car. I just need it for a couple of weeks, for 4 days of filming. And I thought it would be super easy. As it turned out, it was close to impossible to find a used car that I needed. Because first of all, I was like, okay, well, it needs to be a certain color. And then I was like, okay, well, it needs, it just needed to be be a little bit specific. And the prices started going up, and it was all of a sudden, I was like, instead of 500, it was 1,000, it was 1,500. So I finally, long story short, I finally bought a car. And then the problems began. We needed this car to be really, if you've ever bought a used car, you know that you're really it's a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get. If you're going to get a good car, or if you're going to get a piece of shit car. In this case, we definitely got a total piece of crap. Immediately on our first day of shooting, there's smoke coming out of the hood, and we had to cut our production short, send the car to a mechanic. Turns out that the brakes, there's the wrong size brakes were on there. So we got that replaced. And then it turned out, actually, there was just all of these problems, like nonstop. At one point, I almost got arrested while with the car because it wasn't registered, which is my fault, but it looked like a sketchy car. And so that's, at one point, we lost a drone while shooting with it. At one point, it got towed. It was just like a bad omen. It was like the whole thing was just bad, bad, bad. And so I really actually learned my lesson with that car just to pay the money and just get a proper production vehicle. It would have saved me so much money in the long run if I had just bought like a car that's meant for filming instead of doing what I did, because I thought I was going to save $1,000. Instead, I ended up losing thousands. So that was a good lesson. But yeah, that car, man, still gives me nightmares.
That's a hell of a story, huh, Ilya? Wow. How many days do you shoot the film?
We shot for 4 days.
4 days?
Yep.
Wow. Full time? 12 hours,
yeah,
14 hours?
They were pretty long days. It was like 12-hour days. I don't think we ever went 14. The final day we were shooting all of the car crash and all of that, the scene at the end. So that we started late, but we were shooting until like 4 a.m. But it was still like 12-hour days always. Not too bad.
Wow.
I mean, it was only a 12-page script. So it's 4 days. We only had 3 pages a day, which is super luxurious for me. I mean, I'm used to shooting like, I don't know, 10, 15 pages a day. But the problem was that it was so many different locations. So each day was a company move. We had to go to a new location,
That's hard. Yeah, that's hard. Absolutely. I mean, the film, the actress, she's really good. And there are many moments where there's a lot of emotions going on. How do you work with the actors, Ilya? How do you help them to get into more of what they prepare already? How's your approach with the actors?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I love working with actors. I think at the end of the day, that is really the director's most important job. Because there's a person on set to do everything else except for work with the actors. And at the end of the day, when everyone's done moving lights and moving the camera and setting up the set and everything else, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, now what's going to happen, right? So it's a really important job. And I would say my approach is to really let them, first of all, do what they feel is natural. And then from there, you come in and you make little adjustments. And it's really important for a director not to talk too much, not to give too many ideas. If you start to give too many directions, you get lost. The actor gets confused, they get lost, they don't know what to do anymore. You have to really keep it simple and and keep them honest. Like if there's a moment that doesn't feel honest, that doesn't feel true, you can let them know. And sometimes you have to think of different ways maybe to approach it. You try to use action-based direction. So you try to say, instead of you're sad, you say, stare at this picture and try not to cry. For example, like, so you try to give these action-oriented directions. But yeah, I would say really keep it simple is important.
Nice answer, man. Hey, let's go to post-production. Who edited the film?
That was me.
Wow, man. Nice, huh? So how do you, I was just talking before you. I was talking with this guy, Honor Among Thieves, which is a really great film we have in the festival as well. And he was telling me that he doesn't like to edit his own films because
Mm.
you get attached to your darlings and all this stuff. How do you get away from? That's my problem. You know, I have a film from last year, man, and I haven't finished it yet because the editing it got me so confused. I don't like it. How do you overcome all this frustration that we, for example, me and the other guy used to have, you know, when you're editing your own project?
Right. Unfortunately, I mean, I agree with that in theory. The idea that it's good to have someone else do it so that you have a different perspective. Unfortunately, for me, when I've tried to have other people edit for me, it's just a question of if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Maybe part of it is the budget. Maybe, you know, so that because, you know, a lot of the times you're asking people for favors, and you know, so it's like they're not getting things done in time, and they're, you know, but for me, at the end of the day, I'm so specific about how I want it to look. And really, I'm an editor first. I mean, I've been editing
Mm-hmm.
since I was 15 years old. I've been doing it for more than half my life. And so I'm a very good editor, and I know exactly what I want something to look
For
like.
sure.
So, you know, yes, it would be cool to have someone come in and do something totally unexpected. But in my experience, I've never actually seen that happen. What I see happen is that other editors I work with, they'll do something that's similar to what I'm trying to do, but just they're not in my head. So I have to give all these really specific instructions to get it to look the way I want. And the truth is I
Mm-hmm.
can just do it myself, you know?
All
And so
right.
to me, editing is just like, it's just the way to get it's the quickest way to get my vision across. Cause I already know what it looks, you know, when I'm directing something, I'm playing the whole thing through in my head. Like I know every shot, I know everything. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, it's paint by numbers as the expression is, you know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like putting together a puzzle, and I already know what I want the puzzle to look like.
Right. This is good, but I'm gonna ask you one more thing about editing. What makes a good editor? You think you're a very good editor, no doubt about that. What do you think is the
Thank you.
trait that the editor must have?
I think it's a sense of timing and pace. I think you have to really understand. It's like musical. It's kind of like, you know, there's a rhythm to it, and you have to have a natural sense of that. It's something that I think maybe comes from practice. Maybe part of it is a little bit intuition, but I think that really is the most important thing, is having a really good sense of pacing.
Nice. How long did it take for you to edit the film to make it ready, like
Oh,
final?
it was quick, man. It was quick. I mean, the first
Wow.
cut, I probably had it in like 3 days, 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's super good, man. I mean, I can see, Ilya, you have your film in your mind. Let's this is a interesting question I want to ask you. How do you decide? How do you decide what's your final cut of the film?
Mm,
You go by your
that's
intuition or you get
yeah.
feedback? How does it work?
That's such a good question. Yeah, I get feedback. And getting feedback is so the process for me is I make a film, I do a first cut, and then I believe that I'm a fraud. I believe that I absolutely don't deserve to make a film ever again, that I'm an imposter, right? And I say, oh my God, I fucked up. So then I show it to people, and people say, oh wow, this is pretty good. And then I think to myself, okay, good, I'm not a fraud. I can forget about that. But now it's a question. Then you have to decide which feedback you want to listen to, because if you show the film to two different people, they can say two completely different things. So from there, that's when your intuition comes in, and then that's when you say, okay, this is what I already knew, but I needed to hear, but I wanted to make sure that other people were understanding it too. Someone else can give you, because art is subjective, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no
Yeah.
such thing as this is the right thing to do. So it's really important to develop the muscle of knowing it. It is important to get other people's feedback, but when you hear a piece of feedback that you don't agree with, you can't. The point is, you cannot take every piece of feedback, because if you take every piece of feedback, you're going to end up with like some Picasso,
Right.
that it doesn't make any sense, and it's not yours anymore, right? So it's like, yes, you get the feedback, but then you listen to the things. You have to be open to advice, but you have to understand when it's true to that film.
Nice answer, man. How do you choose the music? Do you
Mm,
think about the music before when you write it, or the music comes in the editing process? Where the
yeah.
moment you find the music?
Sometimes, so I'm working on a film right now where I have the music in my head already while I'm writing it. Sometime with 100 million, I didn't have the music in my mind. So it was when I sat down to edit, I had an idea. I was really fortunate to work with an old friend of mine, actually. His name's Jason Scardamalia, did the score. Super, super talented guy. I had never worked with him before 100 million, and then we actually did another film after that together as well. What I usually do is I usually do a temp score, and I send the film to the composer with the temp score. Temp meaning temporary, so it's like, you used inspirations and other things to give it the vibe. This time I didn't do that. This time I sent Jason the film with no music, and I let him do his thing. And a lot like working with an actor, you get to see what they do, and then you come in and then you give feedback and you tweak it. But the first thing he sent me, it was like, oh my God, dude, this is amazing. And it's like, I was so glad that I didn't show him, because look, like as a director, like you don't know everything, right? Like you're not like the expert at everything. Like you know what your vision is, but like the composer is going to be a much better composer than you are. So if I put some sort of music in there, like, and that's all he heard, then he would be constrained to my one single vision. But since I'm open, and since I'm like, okay, let's see where it goes, having him do his vision first, it was like it was a million times better than what I would have done. And I was so happy. And I was like, dude, you just made my film so much better. And so that was the process. And yeah. And sometimes, I'm more specific. Sometimes I know exactly what I want, but if I don't know what I want, I try to be open, and I try to say, let's see what you can do, and then we'll go from there.
Wow, I like that. I hear that from Benicio del Toro too. He was telling about that process with the music. That's a great approach. I got two more questions before I let you go, buddy. You're really, I mean, you're pretty good on doing what you're doing. Tell me, what is the most difficult phase in filmmaking? Pre-production or post for you?
Writing. 100% writing. Pre-production for me is very easy. Post-production for me is very easy. Production is, obviously difficult, but I love it. But the writing is impossible. For me, writing is so difficult. Anyone who's watching this, if you are a writer, please contact me, because the best thing for me in my career right now is to surround myself with other writers. If I had more material, I would be shooting things nonstop, absolutely nonstop. But for me, writing is so difficult. Sitting down to do it, forcing myself, it's pulling teeth. Everything else compared to that, to me, is a piece of cake. Super easy. So for me, the writing is absolutely the hardest part.
Last question, Ilya, I think you mentioned the car, that was a problem, but besides that situation with the car during production, what will you do different for your next short film that you learn doing 100? What do you think?
What I would do different? I would I would budget for reshoots. What I learned on that film and on the next film is that, for me, the first time I shoot something, I'm going to be 80%. It's going to be 80% perfect. But there's going to be 20% that I look at it and I say, nope, it's not working. So if I want my film to be 100%, I need to know for a fact in the beginning that I'm planning to go back. And so, for example, don't throw away the wardrobe. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to need to go shopping for that wardrobe again. Plan for it. Plan for it in the budget. Have an extra 20% contingency that, in the back of your head, you're probably, and it's okay. It's okay. Like big budget films, they plan for reshoots. I mean, it's a part of the process. You sit down, you watch the film, you say, you know what, this isn't working. This could be better. But if you want your film to be the best it could be, oftentimes hindsight is 20/20. So just plan for reshoots. That is what I learned.
Wow, man, nice talk with you. It's pretty cool.
You too, man.
To have your input about filmmaking. Are you coming, Ilya, to Barcelona? What do you think?
Truth is, I was just thinking about it. If, depending on what happens with Corona and everything, there's actually a very real possibility that I would come.
Cool, buddy. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of people, I think.
I'd say 50-50 chance.
We wish the 100% chance that you'll be there, buddy, because
cool, man.
People need to watch this film. It's pretty cool. I really love your style. Listen,
Thank you.
Ilya, thank you very much for your time, buddy. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
I'll see you around, buddy. Take care.
Okay.
See you.